Something happened behind closed doors at the White House that almost no one is talking about, and it may be more dangerous than it looks. Two men walked into a room together. When they walked out, both told completely different stories about what happened inside. What makes this unbelievable is that both are still pushing their version today. Here's what we know for sure. Trump's Treasury Secretary went on national television and described one version of events. Canada's Prime Minister immediately contradicted him. And the truth, the real truth, sits somewhere in between. Far more alarming than either side wants to admit. To understand how we got here, we have to rewind to January 20th, 2026, in Davos, Switzerland, at the World Economic Forum. Mark Carney took the stage and delivered a speech that quietly shook Washington. Without mentioning Trump once, he declared that the American-led world order was over, not fading, finished. He said the so-called rules-based system had always been selective, enforced when convenient and ignored when not. Everyone in the room knew exactly who he was talking about. Trump was watching, and he was furious. The next day, Trump fired back publicly, claiming Canada only exists because of the United States and should be grateful. He even revoked Carney's invitation to a diplomatic body known as the Board of Peace. But then, unexpectedly, Trump picked up the phone. A week later, Trump and Carney spoke for 30 minutes. When the call ended, everything fractured. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent went on Fox News and claimed Carney had aggressively walked back his Davos remarks, essentially admitting defeat. But the very next morning, Carney stood before reporters in Ottawa and said the opposite. "I meant exactly what I said in Davos. No apology, no retreat." So someone wasn't telling the truth. And this isn't just political theater. The United States and Canada exchanged $2.7 billion in goods every single day. What followed pushed that relationship to the edge. Trump imposed tariffs, 25%, then 35%, and at one point threatened 50% tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. That's not negotiation. That's economic warfare. Canadian factories shut down. Thousands of jobs vanished. Entire industries took hits. Forestry, aluminum, manufacturing. Then came the face-to-face meeting. In early February, Carney flew to Washington for his second White House visit as Prime Minister. Cameras captured smiles. Trump told reporters Carney would leave very happy. They spoke of mutual love. Inside the Oval Office, the tone was completely different. Trump told Carney the U.S. and Canada weren't competitors. They were in conflict. That both countries want the same industries and therefore can't both win. Then came the joke. Canada as the 51st state. Carney laughed because he had to. But here's what most people missed. This entire crisis traces back to that Davos speech, where Carney said, "If you're not at the table, you're on the menu." He was warning middle powers that American protection can no longer be assumed. Since then, Carney has acted on that belief, signing trade deals across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. 12 agreements in 6 months. Canada diversifying away from the U.S. Trump initially encouraged it, then suddenly reversed course, threatening 100% tariffs if Canada deepened trade with China. Carney went anyway. China and Canada struck a limited deal. Trump exploded, accusing Canada of becoming a backdoor for Chinese goods, ignoring the fact that USMCA explicitly prevents that. And the damage isn't theoretical anymore. Canadian tourism to the U.S. is dropping. American products are disappearing from Canadian shelves. Trust, built over more than a century, is eroding fast. Behind closed doors, Trump reportedly said he doesn't want to reduce imports from Canada. He wants to stop them entirely. He even floated scrapping USMCA, his own signature trade deal, in favor of bilateral agreements that give him more leverage. Carney, meanwhile, offered $1 trillion in Canadian investment into the U.S. over 5 years. Trump demanded guarantees first. Now both sides are talking, but not agreeing on what was even said. That's the real danger. In normal diplomacy, both governments coordinate their public stories. Here, they don't even agree on reality. One side needs to project dominance. The other needs to project independence. And neither seems concerned that their narratives contradict each other. The result? Two countries that can't trust what happens in the room anymore. As the USMCA review approaches in July 2026, Canada is preparing for a world where the U.S. may no longer be reliable. Pension funds are quietly diversifying away from American assets. Supply chains are shifting. Once that starts, it rarely reverses. This isn't just about tariffs or ego. It's about power, who has it, who's losing it, and how far leaders will go to hold on to it. The most frightening part isn't what's already happened. It's what comes next.